Okay, so as always, I had an intention today about what I wanted to speak about and share about, and then I came out here and, of course, was inspired by this. I was going to share today a story of the importance of our own self-healing, especially when we're holding space for other, and just a bit of a share about where I leaned in a few weeks ago with a dear friend of mine, Liz, who does animal communication, body talk, breath work, because I was, my body was experiencing shock after losing Luca. And I think what was really powerful about that session was a reminder of how giving to our own healing is so important. This is Malachi, and Malachi, so I saw him standing up on the hill, and I thought to myself, what's the message in the mirror here and the theme to talk about? So Malachi had a significant, I guess for horses, a bit of a health scare. So he foundered last summer, and Malachi also had some pretty severe trauma when he came here. So I think he was abused. We're not completely sure of his background. And part of his, I guess, healing crisis last summer, I felt in a large part, was to help him heal and move past some of his old trauma and wounding that was manifesting for him as a condition known as laminitis or founder. And we spent the last, I guess it was June of last year, 6 months, both really holding space for his physical self, of what he needed and to support his healing, but also emotionally and what it was bringing up for him to let go and to heal. And I was in this session with Liz a few weeks ago, and actually what was kind of happening is I had been feeling like I wanted to evolve and focus on kind of a different honoring of some of my containers and really bring forth, I think, to the women that I work with and women space holders that tending to our own healing is important, and having a space that we tend to our own healing is important. And the shift a little bit in my own work, and I think what I'm feeling both from Malachi, the affirmation of that in my own space, is we tend to, when we have these big things that we're doing in the world, our purpose, our business, our practice, that our focus goes externally. And in doing that, we forget about ourselves. And I think not just dealing with some past hurts, but also in our present experience, like really holding space for our own energy. We can't serve and birth big things and be present in our world if we don't tend to ourselves. And there's been a shift for myself over the last couple years. I used to be somebody that was very driven externally of what's my purpose, how do I serve my clients, how do I reach for my dreams, how do I build success for my business. In my own self-care and awareness and space for myself got neglected or abandoned in the process. So I just didn't factor in at all. And that caught up with me, especially when I bought this 80-acre retreat center. I couldn't get away with it anymore. I myself had a health scare. I'm still kind of recovering from that. And I was really forced to look at a pattern of how I was holding myself in relationship to what I was creating. And so through my own journey, and I think through working with women where I watch them give so much of themselves and neglect to them, and give so much externally to what they're building and neglect to themselves. And then we end up burnt out and depleted and resentful, and then getting knocked on our asses because we're not paying attention to how we tend to our own energy. And so when Malachi went through his journey last year, I also realized, because I look at my horses, they have their own experience and it often mirrors mine, that I needed to also really pay attention to what was being mirrored in his journey and to take that next step of, I guess, devotion to myself and my own healing, and to make that a really important part of my process, not just when I'm in this crisis mode, but in a regular day-to-day basis of how do I tend to myself. And so what has come from that, and I think my own experience with this session a few weeks ago after I lost Luca, I think that recognition of my body's in shock and I need help. And I need to tend to this now before, and not to brush it aside or think I don't have time, because I know that's going to blow up in my face. And it kind of led to this creation of a container that I wanted to create for women in space holding to look at their own healing and what they need to support them as they birth these really big spaces in the world. So the first experience of that is I'm running a free retreat series. Liz, who I mentioned in this post, who's a brilliant teacher and healer with both animals and humans, is coming along to share some of her gifts in it. But it's 3 days of being able to soak up and be attentive to what you need, that maybe you don't even know what you need, and to be supported and to look at that pattern of where we neglect ourselves or we don't tend to our own energy. What's been really cool with Malachi is he's healed, by the way, so he went through his healing journey as we did ours. His re-entry into the herd was actually quite different. So he used to be a lot more standoffish, guarded, not just with people, but other horses. And since he's been through his journey, he's much more integrated into the herd. He's much closer into it. There's a greater confidence that he has, less of a, I would say, a caution, and more of a really claiming of himself in the space. And so I think what I've seen through him and through my own journey, it's sort of this funny thing that happens when we tend to ourselves. The effect of that actually means we can show up more fully in what we're doing. And as somebody who believes in the bigness of what we're here to do in the world, this retreat center and this herd and the work that I do is my version of it. I've come to learn, and this place has really taught me that in order for me to be present to that, I've really got to be present to myself. And again, not just in crisis. So I wanted to share that message and then make the invitation if you want to join myself and some incredible women, and also my herd, of course, for 3 days. It's a free retreat series, so you can sign up. I have either, if you're seeing this on my Facebook, I'm sharing the link there. If you're on my Instagram, it's in my bio, and it's free. And it's just a place for women, for us to really settle into the places where we self-sacrifice and how to move beyond that, and how do we start to tend to ourselves. And I'm going to be sharing some rituals and practices that I've implemented that have been hugely supportive. I'm going to be sharing some women that I think are incredibly gifted at what they do to help support us, and integrate some of the herd wisdom as well. So beyond that too, because I think Malachi's just been standing so still, I also want to offer, from this share and from being with Malachi here, what is it that you feel or that you sense is a message that he's giving you? And what do you feel from his energy? As we're talking about this conversation and where this is landing for you. The thing that just sort of came through as I'm sitting here, both he and I have had to go into crisis mode before we deal with the things that we're carrying. Part of my, I guess, commitment and creation of this space is I want to not save other women, but really prevent the place where we go into crisis mode to deal with ourselves. Lord knows that I've had that pattern over the years. I've ended up in hospital and getting trampled by horses, to finally realizing I cannot wait till I'm in crisis mode to really listen to where I'm being asked to tend to me. So I feel that emphasis from him. Malachi, he had a pretty big crisis to the point where the vet wasn't sure that he was going to make it, and he did. So it's essential that we take the space to really tend to our own energy and not wait till it gets really bad before we do so. So this is what this container, starting with the free series, is really about, is for us to take a pause for a second and really tend to our own energy. So see how that lick and chew. So when horses do that, that's confirmation. So that's really the message that wanted to come through. So whether, again, you just needed to hear that, so pay attention to what you need right now. or you want to go deeper with that and come join me for 3 days, we would love to have you. And thank you, Mr. Malachi, for holding that space for us today.